Discover the miraculous transformations in Job's story. 7 divine lessons of redemption revealed. In the ancient land of Uz, during the days of Jehoiakim, there was a man named Job. He was blameless and upright, a man who feared God and turned away from evil. His life was graced with blessings. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. His livestock was vast, consisting of thousands of sheep, camels, oxen, and donkeys. Each morning, Job rose early, offering sacrifices for each of his children, believing they might have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. His heart overflowed with gratitude and reverence for Yahweh, the God who had blessed him abundantly. Yet, unbeknownst to Job, a celestial drama was unfolding in the heavenly realms. The accuser, Satan, stood before the Lord, challenging the sincerity of Job's faith. "Does Job fear God for no reason?" he scoffed, suggesting that Job's piety was merely a facade for the blessings he received. The Lord, in his sovereign wisdom, permitted the accuser to test Job's devotion, knowing the depths of his heart and the strength of his faith. In an instant, calamity struck. A servant rushed to Job, breathless and trembling, delivering the grave news that his oxen had been stolen and his servants slain by raiders. Before Job could grasp the unimaginable weight of this loss, another came, declaring that fire had fallen from heaven and burned the sheep and the shepherds. Heart-pounding, Job listened as each dreadful report unfolded, his camels taken, and, most agonizing of all, the simultaneous death of his beloved children as a mighty wind collapsed the house they gathered in. Overwhelmed by despair, Job tore his robe in anguish, falling to the ground. Yet even amid overwhelming sorrow, he uttered, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Unbroken by his losses, his faith flickered like a candle in the tempest of grief. Then, as if the gravity of sorrow were not enough, Job was afflicted with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Desolate and bereaved, he took refuge in the ashes, racked by pain and isolation. In the depths of his suffering, 3 friends arrived, not to comfort but to condemn, insisting his affliction must stem from hidden sins, fanning the flames of his despair. Their words cut deeper than any blade, forcing Job into a tumult of confusion and questions about God's justice. "Show me my transgression and my sin," Job lamented, standing amidst torment and silence, wrestling with the unfathomable mystery of righteous suffering. His heart cried out to the heavens, as if hoping to catch a whisper of understanding. "Why do you hide your face and count me as your enemy?" Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history.
If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. In the midst of silence, God finally spoke, his voice echoing through the whirlwind. "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth?" The enormity of divine wisdom filled Job's heart, reshaping despair into reverent awe. As the mysteries of creation unfolded before him, Job realized that his suffering, though vast, was not beyond the reach of God's understanding. In the quiet aftermath of divine revelation, a sacred connection transcended sorrow, making way for hope. Would Job's quest for understanding continue to unveil God's purpose, drawing him nearer to the heart of the Almighty? As the sun set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, Job knelt again, wrestling with the truths unveiled and awaiting God's ultimate resolution. Then the Lord continued, revealing more of his creation and the wonders therein. "Have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Tell me, if you know all this, where is the way to the dwelling of light, and where is the place of darkness?" His words pierced through Job's sorrowful spirit, compelling him to reflect on the majesty of the Creator. Job, struck with humility and wonder, recognized his limited understanding and replied, "I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore I despise myself, and repent in dust and ashes." In his surrender, he found a glimmer of solace, a flicker of divine intimacy amidst the tempest of affliction. Yet the conversations with his friends were far from over. Eliphaz the Temanite, with trembling words and proud spirit, beckoned Job to acknowledge his supposed iniquities. "Isn't your fear of God your confidence, and your integrity the hope of your ways?" he queried. Job heard their words, laced with judgment, yet stood his ground. "If I sin, what do I accomplish against you, O God? Or if my transgressions are multiplied, what is my sin to you?" With his heart heavy, Job longed for an arbiter, one who could mediate between him and his God. If only I knew where I might find him, to approach his throne. He yearned for an audience with the Almighty, desperate for answers, yet felt isolated in his suffering. His other friends, Bildad and Zophar, echoed similar sentiments, asserting that God's justice must have brought about his plight. Job was relentless, contending with their reasoning. "I need a witness. I need someone to plead my case, to advocate for my understanding of God's justice." His cries resonated in the depths of his heart as he sensed that beneath their counsel lay a truth he could not yet understand.
As days turned to nights, Job's despair deepened, but the Lord did not abandon him. Night after night, he remained entrenched in prayer, seeking the truth that seemed elusive. "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. I will surely defend my ways to his face." His faith became both shield and armor against the sharp words of his companions. Then, as dawn broke with the golden light spilling over the mountains, a new thought pierced through Job's anguish. "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth." With this declaration, a spark ignited within his soul, shifting his perspective from despair to anticipation. The confidence in his Redeemer, even within trials, began to illuminate his path. Yet beyond the horizon, God's divine orchestration continued, weaving through Job's circumstances with a masterful hand. An ethereal whisper seemed to beckon him onward, promising reconciliation and restoration. But would Job's faith endure the trials yet to come? Thus the stage was set for greater revelations ahead, an unfolding of hope that would render his suffering not in vain. Little did Job know that the grand design of heaven was already in motion, steered by the hand of the Almighty, whose plans were far beyond his understanding. The moment of divine unraveling was approaching, and the covenant of redemption stirred on the brink of realization. What greater purpose awaited the man of Uz, as the Lord stood ready to reveal not just mercy, but unending grace? Then, as Job clung to the faint glimmer of hope within his heart, the heavens began to tremble with an ancient echo, a stirring of divine purpose that resonated beyond mere mortal understanding. For the Lord, having set the stage for revelation, spoke once again to his servant, amplifying the cosmic grandeur of his sovereignty. "Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge?" God thundered from the whirlwind, his voice reverberating through the valley of Job's despair. The earth shook at his words, and the air became thick with the weight of divine inquiry. With unyielding authority, the Almighty continued, "Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall declare to me." Job, feeling the profound nearness of God's presence, trembled but stood steadfast in reverence, determined to bear witness to the unfolding mystery. "I am a man of dust and ashes, unworthy of such an audience," he murmured, yet his heart beat with the intensity of divine engagement. "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it?" God pressed on, each question unwinding the depths of wisdom and revealing his unparalleled might with every utterance. The stars flickered to life over the darkened sky as Job listened in silence, struck by the scope of God's creation and the unmatched power inherent within it. The intricate design of the universe, the beauty of the morning dew, the ferocity of the storms, all orchestrated by the sovereign hand that shaped his life. A realization dawned upon him that even in suffering, he was intimately known and profoundly object of divine deliberation. "Have you commanded the morning since your days began?" the Lord queried, a rhetorical challenge that ignited sparks of awe within Job. "Have you entered the springs of the sea, or have you walked in search of the depths?" With each question, Job's pain juxtaposed against the infinite wisdom of God struck deeper, illuminating his ignorance amidst divine mastery. "Behold the behemoth which I made along with you. He eats grass like an ox." Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook or snare his tongue with a line? Each imagery painted a picture of God's greatness that both humbled and emboldened Job. With every revelation, a transformation took place within Job's spirit. His focus shifted from his suffering to the glorious attributes of his Creator. "I see now," he confessed, voice trembling as realization flooded his being, "that in your wisdom lies the very essence of my existence." As the discourse between the Almighty and his faithful servant drew near to a close, the Lord turned once more to Job with a gentle yet firm reassurance. "You have sought an advocate. Behold, I will respond. I shall now reveal my heart and the grand narrative of redemption yet to unfold." In that moment, Job perceived not merely the God of creation, but the God of restoration. Even as his trials remained, the breath of hope filled his lungs, causing his faith to soar like an eagle in the morning light. Yet beneath the surface of this interaction, a deeper mystery intertwined with Job's understanding. Little did he realize that God's plan for him was more than personal. It reverberated through generations, echoing the hope of a Redeemer yet to come. What profound truth awaited in this divine revelation? The sovereign plan unfurling in the tapestry of time promised a culmination that impacted not just Job, but all of humanity. In the silence that followed, a promise lingered, teasing the horizon of faith. Would Job's ordeal give birth to an everlasting testament of grace and restoration for all creation? "Shall a fault finder contend with the Almighty?" echoed the voice of the Lord, shaking the silence with penetrating clarity. "He who argues with God, let him answer it." As the weight of divine inquiry settled upon Job, he felt the chill of humility envelop him. "Behold, I am of small account. What shall I answer you?" Job exclaimed, casting his gaze to the dust beneath his feet. "I shall lay my hand on my mouth. I have spoken once, and I will not answer. Twice, but I will proceed no further." In his heart, he understood he stood before the sovereign Lord, the source of all that exists, and in the knowledge of his own frailty, silence became his refuge.
Yet the Lord, in his boundless grace, sought to illuminate Job's understanding further. "Dress for action like a man. I will question you, and you make it known to me." With renewed fervor, God continued to unveil his power, addressing the mysteries of creation. "Have you an arm like God? And can you thunder with a voice like his?" The heavens murmured at the majesty of his words as Job contemplated the splendor of God's might. "Curse not the day of my birth," he had cried earlier, but now he was drawn into the majestic narrative of the cosmos, a narrative where he understood his own pain had a place in the larger tapestry of existence. "Adorn yourself with glory and splendor. Clothe yourself with honor and majesty," the Lord called forth, inviting Job into the very heart of divine authority. "Pour out the overflowings of your anger, and look on everyone who is proud and abase him. Look on everyone who is proud and bring him low. Tread down the wicked where they stand." Job, taken aback by the profound challenge, felt the gravity of God demanding. "In your strength lies the ultimate victory," he acknowledged, the truth dawning upon him. "Yet I am but dust. How can I aspire to such might?" "Then I will admit you," God declared, "that you may speak. For the world waits not just for your understanding, but for your surrender to the strength of my glory." And thus, within Job's heart ignited a flame of revelation, a flicker of hope alight amid anguish. "Lord, you have spoken of Leviathan," Job said, emboldened by the intensity of the moment. "May I ask, is there no one who can tame the beast? Is there none among men who can stand against the might of your creation? Who can strip off his outer garment, and who can pierce his double armor?" came the reply, bearing the weight of divine certainty. "There is no other like him, made without fear." Job's heart quaked as he surrendered to the enormity of God, acknowledging the limits of humanity against the instruments of divine majesty. As the dialogue unfolded, Job began to grasp that far beyond suffering was a transcendent purpose, a divine orchestration unfolding even amid chaos. His trials were not isolated, but intertwined within a celestial framework. The bitter winds of his experiences turned to whispers of greater grace, revealing a profound mystery in suffering and redemption. With each revelation, Job's spirit transformed, allowing the weight of his despair to lift, if only slightly. Hope burgeoned anew, and he understood that not even the deepest afflictions were devoid of meaning. Each moment born of his trials prophesied a deeper coming hope, the hope of restoration, not only for himself, but for generations yet unknown. And thus, continued the Lord, you shall be a beacon of my mercy, a testament of grace poured forth through trials. New narratives of redemption will arise from your ashes, sowing seeds of faith among those who follow. In that moment, Job sensed the breaths of many yet to walk the earth intertwining with his own. Could it be? He pondered silently. A flicker of anticipation ignited within him, a promise of restoration, rippling through fate like waves upon the sea. With this holy affirmation, Job sensed that his story was but a single thread in the grand tapestry woven by God's own hand, where every sorrow bore witness to an ultimate redemption waiting to bloom. What fresh harvest of hope awaited in the fields of the future, and how might Job's legacy shape the world's understanding of divine love? As this profound realization took root, Job stood at the threshold of God's sovereign plan, beckoning him toward the unfathomable depths of grace yet to be revealed. "Shall I bring you to my judgment?" the Lord queried, shaking the air with the weight of his authority. "Will you declare that your righteousness exceeds my own? Speak, Job, for now the heavens await your response." Job, in the shadow of the Almighty's majesty, trembled under the gravity of the inquiry. "No, my Lord, I am but a servant, and my mouth is full of dust. Who can dispute with the sovereign?" He felt the raw reality of his insignificance yet again. His heart ached under the burden of his pain, and yet in that very ache lay an ember of understanding. The Lord's voice surged forth once more, resonating with divine clarity. "Have you considered the wonders of my creation, Job? Can you fathom the depths of the sea, or comprehend the expanse of the skies? Answer me, for I shall show you my might, and through it reveal the folds of my wisdom." "Your voice, O Lord, thunders like the great waters," Job responded, feeling himself small amidst the grandeur. "Teach me, I pray. Your ways are higher than my own. In my trials I have sought you, and yet the depths of your understanding escape me." "Then behold," the Lord declared, "the earth is under my command, and I have laid the foundations of the heavens. With a mere breath I shape the mountains and carve the valleys. Are you able to command the morning, to dawn the light upon the earth? Neither shall you bear the weight of this burden alone." As Job listened, the revelation began to saturate his spirit. He envisioned the dawn breaking over the vast plains, the light scattering shadows, and the earth awakening under the touch of its creator. "You, Lord, are the orchestrator of all things," Job whispered. "Even my suffering serves a purpose under your gaze." "Your heart is trembling with wonder," the Lord continued, "and rightly so, for my ways may be mysterious to you, but they hold divine clarity. I do not provide explanations for every sorrow, but I promise redemption through every tear. Do you remember the culmination of my promises?" Job recalled the stories of old, the covenant with Abraham, the deliverance of Israel from Egypt, the whispers of prophets who spoke of hope amidst despair. "Yes, Lord," he affirmed, "you have been faithful through generations." "Indeed, my child," God replied, his voice gentle yet firm. "I will weave your trials into the fabric of my grace. Your lament shall sing of my glory, and through your pain the world shall witness my mercy. The narratives of those who have suffered shall rise, lives redeemed, faith restored, hope reborn. You are the vessel, Job, through which my power is revealed." In that moment, Job's heart was transformed by a holy communion with the Most High. He began to grasp that his suffering was but a brushstroke in a divine masterpiece far grander than he could imagine. "Lord, though I have questioned your ways," Job murmured, "I see now that even in the dark recesses of my trials, light breaks forth. I shall trust in you,
for you are the God who restores. The air filled with a hushed reverence, as creation itself seemed to hold its breath, beholding the exchange between the Almighty and his servant. New beginnings await you, Job, echoed the Lord's voice like thunder through the valleys, reverberating with divine promise. Your restoration will not only heal you, it will usher in a legacy of faith for those who follow. Shall you not seek the fullness of hope, that the generations may come to know of my steadfast love? As illumination dawned upon him, Job stood unshaken, his heart aflame with the knowledge that the depth of God's plan was still unfolding. What new miracles awaited in the life of a man once enveloped in despair? Little did Job know, the tapestry was still being woven, each thread a declaration of divine redemption that through him would echo throughout the ages. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? The Lord's voice boomed once more, enveloping Job in its profound authority. Tell me, if you have understanding. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set, or who laid its cornerstone? Have you ever given orders to the morning, or shown the dawn its place, that it might take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like those of a garment. The wicked are denied their light, and their upraised arm is broken. The Lord continued, his voice thunderous yet nurturing, enveloping Job in questions swirling like the cosmic winds. Have you journeyed to the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of the deepest darkness? Have you comprehended the vast expanses of the earth? Tell me, if you know all this. Each query pulled at the threads of Job's understanding, revealing the unfathomable wisdom of the Creator. Job listened, heart heavy with the weight of the Lord's profound riddles.
The cosmic mystery beckoned him to deeper reflection, each word a thread drawing tightly upon his spirit, binding together his trials with a divine tapestry that seemed to weave unseen purpose through his suffering. Where is the way to the abode of light, and where does darkness reside? Can you take them to their places? Do you know the paths to their dwellings? Surely you know, for you were already born. You have lived so many years. The Lord's rhetorical questions struck deep, challenging Job to confront the breadth and depth of divine knowledge far beyond human grasp. Job heard in silence, his countenance shifting from despair to a dawning realization. I spoke of things I did not understand, too wonderful for me to know, he whispered, allowing his spirit to surrender to the majesty of the Eternal One. Listen now, and I will speak. I will question you, and you shall answer me. A divine call echoed through the atmosphere, prompting Job's heart to yearn for understanding, recognizing the grandeur of the God who calls into being that which is not. The world around him, once shrouded in grief, began to take on a new light, revealing the intricate dance of creation and the threads of Job's own story woven into the universe. With renewed humility, he sought to embrace the revelation coming forth from the Almighty. Do you have an arm like God's, and can your voice thunder like His? Then adorn yourself with glory and splendor, and clothe yourself in honor and majesty. Unleash the fury of your wrath. Look at all who are proud and bring them low. The Lord's words became an invitation, not condemnation, urging Job to ponder the nature of sovereign strength contrasted with human frailty. In the throes of this celestial dialogue, Job realized that the mystery of his suffering was not merely about loss, but about a deeper purpose in revealing God's character and His majestic governance over all creation. He began to see beyond his pain, embracing the divine narrative unfolding around him. In this moment of clarity, I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. Job's declaration resonated with echoes of heartfelt transformation, moving from contemplation to confession. And so, under the vastness of the heavens, a new chapter unfurled, revealing how through Job's trials, the very essence of God's redemptive plans began to crystallize.
Yet the journey was far from over, as God's grand design was yet to be revealed, hinting at the fulfillment of his promise which lingered just beyond the horizon. What further mysteries awaited Job's understanding, and how would God's overarching narrative of hope and restoration unfold in the line of his lineage? The Lord continued to speak, and the heavens resonated with his words. "Now gird up your loins like a man. I will command you, and you shall answer me."
Will you indeed annul my judgment? Will you condemn me that you may be justified? Do you have an arm like God, or can you thunder with a voice like his? Job stood in awe, the weight of these inquiries stirring a mingling of fear and reverence within him. He felt stripped down in the presence of the Almighty, an echo reverberating within. What am I but dust before you? In that moment, the depths of Job's heart were laid bare, his pride, like the morning mist, evaporating under the radiant light of truth. "Deck yourself now with majesty and splendor," the Lord commanded, "and array yourself with glory and beauty. Release the fury of your wrath against the proud. Look on everyone who is proud and humble him." The earth trembled as God's proclamation washed over the landscape, revealing his sovereignty over all creation. Job's mind began to whirl, recognizing the gravity of the divine power woven throughout the universe. As the Lord continued, he brought forth the grandeur of creation, asking, "Have you entered the springs of the sea? Have you explored the profound depths where shadows lurk? What instills the spirit of the fierce jackal? Who gives the warhorse its strength, or clothes the raven when it calls?" Each question resonated like rolling thunder, emphasizing the omnipotence of the Creator. With each inquiry, Job's understanding deepened. He saw that the struggles not only refined him, but also fulfilled a purpose beyond what he could conceive. Here was an invitation not just to witness, but to participate in divine wisdom. Job's lament transformed into wonder as he beheld the unfathomable intricacies of creation, the flourishing of life, and the majesty of God's design. Among the vastness of God's artistry, Job's wounds whispered for healing, and in his seeking, he discovered a gleam of hope. A seed of faith took root in the soil of his spirit. "Behold, I am of small account. What shall I answer you? I lay my hand on my mouth," Job proclaimed with a humble heart, the tension of the dialogue pulling him further toward a revelation of divine grace. Then came the stillness of God, enveloping the air around him. In that silence, Job felt the sacred weight of the longing within him, realizing that the depths of his suffering intertwined with the redemptive narrative of the ages. It was not merely about his pain, but about the glory of a loving God who was I Am, intimately involved in the affairs of humanity. "Yet, Job," the Lord's voice pierced through the air again, stronger than before, "in your weakness, I will reveal my strength. Your story is but a thread in the grand tapestry of salvation. For I will raise you up, and through your trial, many will be drawn to the light of my truth." Responsively, Job fell to his knees, the promise igniting a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. The divine ink of grace began to pen a new chapter, one that held not just his story, but the unfolding assurance for a multitude longing for redemption.
In these moments of divine encounter, the reverberations of God's plan became increasingly evident. As Job understood the mysterious greater picture, a whisper beckoned him, revealing, "But this is just the beginning, for through your lineage the true Redeemer shall arise." The promise lingered, shrouded with expectation, touching hearts scattered across time, awaiting the fulfillment that echoed in the heartbeat of eternity. What further marvels awaited the world through Job's journey of trials and triumphs? Then the Lord continued to address Job from the whirlwind, saying, "Shall the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? He who rebukes God, let him answer it." Job, finding his voice trembling within him, replied, "I have spoken once, and I will not answer. Yes, twice, but I will proceed no further." In that moment,
God's presence loomed larger than ever, enveloping Job in a divine embrace of authority and grace. The Lord spoke again, calling forth the foundations of the earth. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? To what were its foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstone? Job stood silent, wrestling with the profound enormity of these questions. The fabric of creation itself bowed before the wisdom and majesty of the Creator. Each word reverberated through Job's very being, igniting within him a deeper awareness of divine omnipotence. The Lord continued, painting vivid images of creatures untamed and formidable to demonstrate his unrivaled power and authority. Can you command the morning to appear and cause the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth and the wicked be shaken out of it? Job's heart raced as the vastness of God's command washed over him, illumining realms beyond human comprehension. What is it to you, O man, that you should question my ways? The Lord inquired, a holy reminder of Job's position against the backdrop of unfathomable wisdom. Job felt the weight of the world merge with his personal anguish, realizing that his suffering was not without purpose in the divine narrative. I know that you can do everything, Job finally confessed, humbled and enveloped in reverence, and that no purpose of yours can be withheld from you. The depths of his affliction seemed mere shadows in light of God's eternal greatness. Yet the Lord was not finished. Hey, Job, he said, where is the way to the dwelling of light, and darkness, where is its place? Have you entered the treasures of the snow, or have you seen the treasury of the hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble? Each inquiry seemed to unveil layers of God's majestic splendor, drawing Job into the realization of God's incredible artistry woven throughout all things.
With each statement from God, the veil over Job's heart began to lift, revealing a profound connection to the Creator's sovereignty. He began to see that his personal sorrows were a sacramental thread weaving into the tapestry of hope. As the dialogue unfolded, new dimensions of God's love and purpose began to permeate Job's spirit. Out of the depths I will bless you, the Lord declared, for I am shaping you into a vessel of my grace, a beacon for generations to witness. Job's heart swelled with a deep understanding that he was being invited into a divine partnership, called to bear witness to the redemptive plan unfolding through his life. You are sculpted by suffering and shaped by my love, the Lord affirmed, echoing through the chambers of Job's soul. In this sacred moment, a revelation blossomed, and through your obedience, many will be drawn to the light of my salvation. The horizon shimmered with possibilities, an invitation for Job to embrace not just his pain, but the promise of transfiguration through trials. Indeed, this is just the beginning, the voice of the Lord resonated. For through your lineage, the spirit of restoration shall march forward. In the days to come, hearts across nations will call upon my name, finding hope in the midst of despair. Job quaked with the weight of that promise, pondering the unfathomable mystery of God's plan, where even his suffering bore the fingerprints of divine purpose. How wondrously intricate was the wisdom of God, and how far-reaching the implications of Job's faithfulness in the face of adversity. What glories were yet to be revealed? And so, the Lord, having tenderly revealed the vastness of his power and the intricacies of his design, turned to Job once more with words of quiet but unmistakable authority. Job, you have witnessed my creation and the wonders woven within it. Now, the time has come for your journey through suffering to bear fruit. Your heart, torn and bruised, shall become fertile ground for the seed of hope. Job, trembling yet emboldened, lifted his gaze toward the heavens. What shall I do, my Lord? My heart is yours, and my pain has been but a whisper of the greater song you sing through creation. In that sacred moment, Job's spirit was attuned to the beat of the divine melody, a symphony of redemption unfolding in real time. Pray for your friends, the Lord instructed, a command laced with promise.
for they have spoken of me not rightly. Their understanding has been clouded by their assumptions and their fear. Yet through your intercession, I will reveal the truth of my mercy to them, and through you, they shall find their way back to my heart. Confusion flickered in Job's mind, yet his obedience rose stronger. Even those who have condemned me, even those who have misunderstood the depths of my pain? Indeed, the Lord replied with tenderness, for just as I have brought you through trial and refinement, so too shall they know grace.
Your suffering shall not have been in vain, for it will compose the harmony of restoration that echoes through the generations. And as Job bowed his head in reverence, he began to pray, not with bitterness or anger, but with a heart softened by grace. O Lord, forgive my friends. They have spoken from their wounds. Their hearts have sought solace in explanations rather than in understanding. May they too come to know the fullness of your love. As his prayer ascended like incense toward the throne of grace, transformation sparked in the hearts of his companions. The Lord, with divine timing, moved among them, unearthing the depths of their conception and revealing the artistry of his justice. You shall find a fresh understanding, he declared with authority, and through the voice of my servant Job, you shall witness my redeeming love. Then, as Job interceded, something extraordinary began to unfold. The divine gaze turned towards Job's plight, and restoration cascaded over his life. Now, spoke the Lord, I will turn your captivity, and you shall be blessed beyond measure. Suddenly, it was as if the skies opened, and a deluge of blessings poured forth. Job's livestock multiplied, his riches returned, and he was blessed with even more sons and daughters, a double portion of his former abundance. Yet beyond earthly gifts, the true treasure lay deeper. You have come to know me, Job, beyond the veil of suffering, God proclaimed, and now you are a living testament of hope and grace. With each new day, Job's heart soared higher, intertwined with melancholic joy. His children, born anew, filled his home with laughter, and the community gathered to celebrate the incredible redemption displayed in his life. Witnessing Job's transformation, they too turned toward the Lord, compelled by the narrative of grace that echoed from his story. Truly your ways are above our ways, O Lord, Job exclaimed, overwhelmed by the boundless mercy that had enveloped him. From the ashes you have raised me, and in my darkest hour your light has shone the brightest. And so Job lived on, his life a candid testament of God's intricate handiwork, echoing through time as generations unfolded. May my story, he prayed, be a river flowing towards others in need of your redemption. May it speak of the truth that even in the depths of despair, your love remains steadfast. I shall proclaim your name, for you are the God who restores, who hears our laments, who blesses beyond our comprehension. As the sun set over Uz, a new chapter dawned in the legacy of Job, a legacy not solely marked by trials, but by unshakable faith and divine restoration, a proven testament of God's unwavering love that would continue to inspire all who dared to seek the face of the Almighty. And lo, if you find your own heart echoing the struggles of Job, do not wait another moment to connect with the divine whisper of grace. Subscribe now, for you need to stay connected to God's Word.
Like this message now to uplift others in their journey of faith, and comment below how Job's journey has transformed your understanding of divine love. Also, share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to experience God's truth today. Let us spread this hope far and wide, for this is the moment God's declarations of praise can ripple through our world like never before.